Hello, do you want to stay ahead of the trending technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing, SAP, and also you want to pursue your career in these technologies? Then here you are at the right platform. Welcome to our channel Career Advice. So here guys, you will learn all these technologies free of cost, and also you will learn how to pursue your career in the big companies in this same technology. So if you liking our efforts, if you think that we are making good videos, informational videos, then please do like, subscribe, share and press the bell icon here. Thank you.
Start with the SAP ISU. You already both of you know what is SAP ISU. So just from the perspective of understanding, what do you understand utility? What is a utility? So utility generally divided into three parts. One is public utility, private utility, and these days there is a concept called commercial utilities. So private utilities, as you are using your toothpaste, oil, gas, everything is private utility. Whatever you use to consume, that is a utility. Now public utilities is kind of a necessity to live a life comfortably. That is a public utility. So most of these public utility are controlled by the government. So like in India, you have different ministries like water resource ministry, gas and oil ministry, you have telecom ministry, you have communication ministry. So each one actually represents one utility. So who controls the utility? They controls the public. So that's how the public utility all about it. Now consider what is the public utilities different segments where we can actually see the public utility and how it can be mapped to the SAP. So when we understand the business areas related to the public utility, we mostly see electricity, gas, water, multimedia, wastewater, waste management, telecommunication, and district heating. These days, 2-3 new things are already added. One is cable television, internet data uses, and sometime the after 5G, there would be a service uses. There would be a new concept going to be added on into this. So any queries on which utility you are not able to understand, which are you never see, or like district heating is one of the concept that is not in India, it's mostly in Europe. So in cold countries, they want to heat their houses by using gas, and that gas flow through a you can say heater. That heater blown that gas and make the water heat, and that water flow through a copper cable through the houses, and that make the house warm. So that's how the district heating working. Apart from that, multimedia is also very new to Indian subcontinent, because the set-top box are come into picture just 10 years back. Before that, people are like using all the channels, they are seeing all the channels, they are paying a lump sum amount at the end of the month. But once the multimedia comes into picture, so you have a set-top box, how much time you are using the channel or watching the services, based on that you can pay the amounts. And then obviously internet also linked to the multimedia, which link to your data uses, and cable television as well. Apart from that, telecom segment, which is already, you can say it's kind of mature, like most of these telecom companies are using the utility services. The SAP ISU implementation is done most of the telecom company, either SAP ISU or there is a Oracle concept. So they already implemented most of these ERP solutions. And waste management, slowly India is progressing there. So there are 2-3 projects, major projects by the central government, like RAPDRP project, which is mostly related to the electricity. It is providing the fund to all the state government to implement the SAP ISU for their electricity departments. Apart from that, then they started with gas, like Mahanagar Gas Limited, which is in Maharashtra, then Indraprastha Gas Limited, which is in Delhi. So those are some gas utilities where the ISO implemented. Then we have water. Water is currently under the process. Probably within next 10 years, it will see the SAP ISO implementation in the water segment. And waste management is of two types. One is hard waste, other one is soft, water waste. Water waste is mostly linked to the, like there are a lot of projects in India to clean rivers. So those cleaning of river is directly linking with the wastewater management, and treating plant, water purification, those stuffs are there that need a huge technological boost, which will helpful them to recycle the water, and that is also not yet implemented in any of the Indian state. So there are huge opportunities in all these utility segments, because probably next 10 to 20 years people are going to from the legacy system to new technologies. Utility, when we talk about utility, utility has its own value chain. It is always have three segments, starting with production. Like you can see the generation units are there. Like in Odisha, we have two big generation units, hydropower generations and NTPC has their coal power generation. So those are generation units. And similarly for water, we have rivers. So from river, we get the water. So water production is there. Natural gas productions, mostly we have a storage area in Berhampur area actually. So storage is there. So what happened that when we have talking about the value chain, somewhere it get generated and then it transmitted. So there are transmission lines. So transmission lines are mostly owned by the government or regulatory bodies. They control the transmission, right? So generation, transmission, then there would be distribution. Distribution like Gridco is a distribution unit. And if it is a deregulated, after distribution, there are retailers. Retailers, they don't generate, they don't store the energy, they just sell the energy to the customers. So those are retailers. From retailers, it will go to the consumers. You can see this value chain graph: generation, transmission, distribution, retail, and from retail, it is going to the customers. So customer, again, of two types: domestic customers, non-domestic customers, or business customers. So this is how all the process is going on. But in case of a water management, there are water treatment plants we need, right? So when we're talking about SAP ISU, SAP ISU can implement it in generation, in transmission, in distribution, in retail, right? So all these segments can be covered through SAP ISU, but with bit customization. Similarly, natural gas production, transmission, and retail, everything can be possible. Okay, so this is the value chain. So mostly the demand is come from the consumers to the retailers. Retailers send that demand to the distribution units. Distribution units send to the transmission unit. Then transmission unit put the tender. From the tender, they get the generation companies, and based on the agreement, they generate the energy and then they transmit to the customer. So what is the real problem in energy segment? Any idea what is the real issue actually in energy? The real issue is that we can't store electricity. Okay, so that is in the electricity segment. In water, if we store the water for a long time, the water will be not useful. Okay, so mostly if it is more than 3 to 4 days, it is not drinkable. Similarly, for natural gases, if you store the natural gases for a long time, you have to pay long. The price will be high because you need to put a lot of pressure and temperature conditions to store the gas. So each of the utility has their own challenges, and based on that challenges, the pricing, the real logic we need to implement. That's what our objectives. Map that to our product. So our product is SAP, but how it is mapped with the SAP? As I mentioned, we have two type of market. One is regulated market, other one is deregulated market. But what are the benefits of the deregulated market? So if the market is deregulated, okay, so that definitely you will get increasing in autonomy of value added labels or unbundling. Value added labels means when the generation send the energy to transmission, they should offer something like, okay, as there are multiple players, I can give you the energy with less price. So that kind of value addition can be added to each of the labels. Increase in regulation in transmission. So in transmission, we can put the regulations so which reduce the losses. Do you know what is the losses in India in energy transmission? It is more than 40%. Okay, so if somebody is buying the energy from generation company with rupees 1, and when it will come to the distribution unit, okay, so that price is increasing up to rupees 5, and the major region is transmission and distribution losses. Okay, and that can be reduced if you have a deregulated segment and they can put multiple conditions. Okay, if there would be losses, there may be penalties. So the consumer will pay less and the company will work efficiently. Privatization, merger, acquisition would be easier. Changing the enterprise organizations, new enterprise types would be emerge, like more distributors, more transmission, not more transmission units, more retailers, more generation company will be, and diversification into new business fields. Okay, so those things will be arises in a deregulated market. So that's how people go for deregulation market, because the competition will be higher. If the competition will be higher, the buyers will get the energy with less price. Okay, trading of energy in the marketplace will be more challenging and the price will be reduced. Like you can take the current scenario where India is getting the petroleum from Russia. We have option to buy the petroleum from different countries like OPEC or like Northern American countries or South American countries. Then we have Russia. So now when nobody buys the oil from Russia, Russia is offering good money or good discount to India. So that's how when the deregulation will happen, the consumers will be get benefited and new companies will be merged. Okay, so mostly when we consider this perspective, we say GenCo means generation companies, then Transco, transmission company, Disco, distribution company, and finally the customer or retailer. They are mostly the domestic customers or commercial customers. So if we consider the value chart, how the energy flows and what is the value chart work, so we can see the value chart start from these retailers at the top. You can see the retail customers are there, right? So the retail customer first, they will give a requirement. Requirement means, okay, if somebody creates a new house, so and they want to get a electricity connection, what exactly they are looking for? So what exactly they're looking for? They ask some electricity department guy to come and check the load. Okay, so what is the load? Load is the estimated energy that consumer going to use once he will be go live or once he will get the connection, right? So from the load, we can estimate what is the demand of that customer. Okay, now the customer get the details that how much they want, and from that details, it will ask to the retailers to provide that much energy to them. So then we have the agreement between the customer and the retailer. Now retailer got the demand. Once retailer get the demand, they'll ask to the distribution company, okay, sell me this much energy. Let it be 1 megawatt required by the retailer. So distribution unit has that obligation to provide 1 megawatt to the retailer, right? Now, distribution company is only selling the energy to the customer, but not to anybody else. So now, distribution company is not generating. Generating company is different. So generation company will directly negotiate with the distribution company, okay? And they have a contract that, okay, I'll send this much energy at this time. But there is an intermediate, that is a transmission company, because the generation units are like out of city or somewhere remote areas. So from there to the city, they need a transmission line, and that is owned by the transmission company. Now this transmission company actually get the demand from the distribution company, and there is an agreement between the distribution company and generation company how much energy they require. Now this transmission company may gather that energy from multiple generation companies. Let it be the distribution company requires 1 megawatt, but the generation company only generate 500 kilowatt. Another generation company generates 350 kilowatt. Okay, so what they do, they get the energy from multiple generation company, and finally at the end they give to the distribution company, right? And distribution company sell to the retailer company, retail company sell to the customer, and the retail company invoice to the customer. Once the money will come, the money will flow like this. It's come from the customer and based on the meter, and that money will flow to the next segment to the distribution company. Okay. Then based on the metering value, the distribution company give to the transmission company. Now, why there is a meter between transmission company and distribution company? Because during the transmission, there would be losses. There would be a frequency differentiate. There are a lot of complexity during the transmission. So at the end, how much energy is arrived to the distribution company? The distribution company will pay on that. Similarly, the transmission company wants to get the energy from the generation company. They metered that, and based on that, they give the money to the generation company, right? So you can see there are 4 commercial revenue generating companies in between the customer and the generation company. Okay, and lot of complexity. So when we think about ISU, where the ISU exactly come into picture? So mostly these days, the ISU is with distribution company and customer services and billing, which is mostly the retail companies. Okay, as I mentioned, we have many utilities. In all the utilities, these 4 segments are there, and all of them linked to the ISU. So mostly what they do, ISU do the device management, work management. Work management means maintenance of the device. Move in, move out means providing the connection, measuring consumptions, which is your metering, billing and invoicing, which we provide to the customer. Then collection, which is like collecting the money based on your invoice. And finally, providing the customer services. Now, when we put them into modules, so this looks like this. So you can see there are different colors here. So red color represents the finance. HD related modules are represented in yellow, then green, which with related to the PM and SM. And finally, the purple color representing the ISU CCS. So you can see in the base, we have work management. Work management comes from the core module. Like, as you both are from SAP background, so you know there are 2 kind of statements we say. One is core module. Core modules means which are already there in SAP, and we are using that in ISU in our solution. That is core module. Whereas I am telling the module for utilities or module for the solution, that means that is ISU module. Okay. So the core modules are like, you know, the history of SAP, right? It is established in 1972 by a company called SAP AG. And from there onwards, today, there are more than 1,000 modules, 1,028 modules are there. And all those modules are independent in nature. They are kind of a blocks, building blocks. And when we need to provide any solution for any of the problem statement, we are adding those modules to create the solution, right? So those are called modules, whereas solution is a bit different. Solutions are very less. There are around 17 or 16 solutions from SAP, like the solutions for the retail, IS retail, for the insurance, IS insurance, for medical segment. So SAP Medicare for health and care. So they called SAP Health and Care. So there are some solutions and there are a lot of modules. Now, each of the solution is actually consist of multiple modules. So, and those modules are either core modules or modules related to that solution. Okay, so when I'm telling the core modules, that means those modules which are already available with SAP, and we are just using those modules for our solution. Whereas the solution modules are related to that particular solution. Now you can see here, the work management is a core module. It comes from PM, plant maintenance. Okay. Then on the top of that, we have meter and device management, which is SAP ISU DM, which is basically the ISU module. Then we have marketing and sales, which comes from SD, sales and distribution. So now I'm explaining what are the modules here. So marketing and sales, which is come from SD, sales and distribution. And we have installation services. Like installation services is part of PM, part of DM. Now, when we say the installation services, which is related to the plant maintenance, now from there it is enhanced to consumption entry. Consumption entry is like metering data entry, which is part of, again, DM. Similarly, we have billing and services, which is part of SDs, sales and distribution. And on the top of that, we have consumption billing, which is SAP ISU BI. Similarly, we have invoicing. Now, invoicing concept is there directly in SD, but they don't have the billing concept. So that's how we add on the billing, consumption billing, and we enhance the invoicing for the ISU. And finally, we have contract account receivable and payable, which is called FICA, FICA. FICA, again, very interesting stuff, because previously it was FICO, finance and controlling. And on the top of that, we enhance, or the SAP enhance that FICA, FICA, right? And FICA is for the individual customers agreement, whereas FICO is to control the company. Now, without company, we can't exist. So that there would be a FICO below the FICA. Okay, so that's how the contract account receivable and payable play the role. And finally, the most important part is customer services, CS. Now, CS is obsolete in 2015. Currently, we are using the CRM, which is integrated to SAP ISU. But some of the company who all are using the CS or old CIC format, CS means Customer Interaction Center, they're still using that, and that is enhanced till 2025. Okay, so that's how the whole structure. So if we convert them into some modules, okay, like as I mentioned, the whole roadmap started from ERP. Okay, so ERP is actually a concept. Like if I ask what is physics, okay, so it is a concept for the physical objects. Okay, similarly, what is ERP? ERP is enterprise resource planning, you mentioned correctly. So how to run a enterprise without interruption, how to plan the resources, how to use the different segment in an enterprise for smooth business run. So let's take an example of a tea stall. In a tea stall, what are the resources you need?
We need gas.
You need a gas, very
milk,
good one.
Sugar.
You need
tea
sugar, tea, yeah, tea
utensils,
leaves, utensil, very good.
Utensil.
Sorry?
Water and milk.
Water, milk,
and milk.
okay, water, milk, gas, utensils. So whatever the capital investment like utensils and you can say the gas, but not the gas cylinder, all are capital investment. Consider that one-time investment. Let it be your business is going running well, and you are putting 1 liter milk every day and making around 200 cups of tea, right, with sugar and water leaves. And if you want to provide some kind of masala tea like ginger or cardamom, so all those things are resources. Now, when in the morning, and what more, you need a resource as well. Okay, somebody will provide the services, right? So in a fine morning, the weather is very cold. Okay, in that cold weather, you are expecting that today the number of tea buyers will be increased. Okay, so what you will do?
We will prepare, we will increase our quantity.
Yeah, so you need to buy your more milk, more sugar, more tea, more usable cup. So all those things you need to prepare yourself. Let it be uh, in the night you see a news that tomorrow there would be cyclone. Okay, so what you will do?
We will listen our resources.
Okay, you will
Prepare
maintain your
daily,
resources.
whatever.
Right. So similarly, like a tea stall is an enterprise, and that enterprise also need resource management. Resource management based on the demand, resource management based on the conditions. So now that resource management, if you do efficiently, you will earn a good money. If you create a supply chain, like you ask somebody to provide you 4 liters of milk every day, and the day of cyclone also he provided 4 liters of milk, is it a loss to you or a profit to you?
Loss.
Loss. But in the day when there would be a demand, you ask them to provide 8 liters. He told, no, we have agreement of 4 liters. I can't provide you 8 liters. So it's a loss
That's
for you
also,
again.
that's also.
Yeah. So that's how the enterprise resource planning comes into picture. Okay.